And we are live. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a reasonably fine art talk with your friend Charlie Hunter. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I didn't do a very good job promoting this, but hopefully a few of you are out there watching, and you'll see it later on YouTube and stuff. Now, here at the house, I must warn you, there is a new kitten. There is a new kitten, and Charbonneau is not happy. The new kitten is very friendly, very energetic. Right now, new kitten is sitting right over to my right, but may activate during the course of the reasonably fine art talk. And if so, you may see a very plumy little tail coming by, and maybe I will get climbed upon. The new kitten's name is Pompey, aka Jean-Baptiste, aka the son of Charbonneau and Sacagawea, of course, from Lewis and Clark Corps of Discovery. And hi, artists. Hi, everybody out there. Let's get right into talking about what we're talking about today. Now, a few weeks ago, I think the end of September was my last reasonably fine art talk. I've just been tearing around. So my apologies for not having one for so long. But I thought the one in September was about kind of the first half of my residency up in Maine at the Tides Institute in August. So I thought I'd pick up from where that one ended, and we'll look at the rest of the work that I produced during that time. How's that sound? How's that sound, ladies and gentlemen? So first off, I did about 30 pieces during the residency. I was there for 2 weeks, and I attempted to do this without any filter at all. No preconceptions, except let's just make marks and see what happens. And this is typical. The upper left, of course, is a photograph of just where I parked at one point. Did a little sketch, which I forgot to make a photograph of. And then back at the studio, did the painting to the right. The painting underneath that is another. I was over in Lubeck one day, did another sketch, came back to the studio, and again just put paint down. And I think that's really important. I think that's really important for us when we do have the opportunity to just concentrate on our paintings, rather than doing staggering works of heartbreaking genius. Let us just get stuff down. Let us just experiment. This is typical of the upper left is a place where I parked my car. And then at the right is the sketch I did. And underneath is a 9x12. Almost all the paintings were 9x12s, except for the large version of, that's not true. There was 12x16 as well, but 9x12 or 12x16, and then a large version of this painting. If anyone has any comments or questions, put them up on the comments. If I see them and they are relevant to the discussion at hand, I will address them during the course of this chat. Now, one thing I want you to note is how incorrect my sketch is. There is both something I like about the sketch is that it demonstrates how I will originally do a frame, and then I will extend it if I feel the composition is calling for it. Look at the sketch, and you'll see the vertical of the utility pole is actually where the drawing originally ended. And then I added that the building immediately to the right of the utility pole. But Look at how I missed the correct angle for the peak of that house. Look at reality and look at my sketch and look how far off it is. That amazes me. It amazes me that I was there. I wasn't, that was not an artistic decision. That was just my not seeing carefully enough. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that sketch per se, and there's nothing wrong with the little painting that I did. But if doing sketches is practicing our eye-hand coordination, the ability to put down what is in front of us, I missed the ball on that one. And Helen says the shadow on the right is also now at an angle. Shadow on the right. Yeah, the shadow on the right is at an angle. And I don't know if that was a lot of these photographs of the paintings I took. I took them at they were lying flat on a table and I was shooting from above just with my cell phone camera. And sometimes the angles get a little bit wonky. Let's see. Now, I also did a large version of this because I really loved this house. This is about what is it, about 2.5 feet by 6 feet painting. And the thing that I was originally planning on doing a lot of big paintings when I came to the residency. And I brought a roll of Centurion linen canvas because that is what I'm working on in the online workshop with Jason Sacran that we're starting in January. I wanted to get used to that surface. What I had forgotten is when you're working this large, you really want something with more tooth. The smoothness of linen is wonderful at smaller sizes, but when you get up to this size, you're trying to make big gestures. And there's nothing for the paint to really glom onto. So this is the only big painting that I did during my time there. This was Eastport is that line, is it Longfellow, they will go down to the sea in ships. Eastport is a lot of that going down to the sea. It's on this series of hills that then go down to the waterfront. And I ended up really that's where my pursuit really went during the second week, was noticing that distinctive, the way that her near horizon lines would really change how we are seeing what we're seeing. And so I loved how the near horizon cuts off in the lower third, and then the far horizon, which is Campobello Island across the Bay of Fundy, connects the kind of ornate Masonic temple block on the left with the bank block on the right. And my sketch is just playing with kind of the starkness of that composition. This was another one block over, basically the same hill, looking down at I believe it's now a brew pub, a bookstore, and a wine bar. So reality, the sketch I made from reality. These sketches are done sitting in the car. I will also take a photograph so I have additional reference. The photograph is in color, but I like, when I am referencing these photographs for monochromatic paintings, to keep them primarily monochromatic as well. And then a 12 by 16, or this one may have been 16 by 20. That was the larger size, 16 by 20 canvas pad. You can see the wrinkle in the canvas. I really liked this one. it did what I wanted it to do. Another composition using the same device of the near horizon being this bright, the sun hitting that, the sun reflecting off of the Bay of Fundy, and then kind of a cloud system coming in over Campobello. Bev Benson asks, where on the Bay of Fundy? Sorry, latecomer. That's okay, Bev. If that's the worst thing that anyone does today, we're doing very, very well. The Bay of Fundy, I was at Eastport, Maine, and the Bay of Fundy is it's Eastport is right across from Campobello, we're just above Lubeck, Grand Manans, that whole area. JB Townsend has a question. Are my lines always with squeegee? Some of the lines are so clean and difficult looking. Well, JB, you need to watch some of my demos. They are not always with squeegee. The verticals of the utility poles pretty much always are. The horizon on this one was with a very large squeegee, but the squeegee is not used to actually pull any paint. I use the squeegee as a block, and then I sprayed water on the top third of the painting, and then with a very wet brush with my paint mixture, painted across and let the paint kind of bloom, kind of a watercolor technique, but in oil. So that was squeegee as a water barrier. Squeegee mark making is the utility pole, but the buildings and mailbox on the left, that's done primarily with small brushes or with flat brushes. There may be using a smaller squeegee. I've been using these. Sorry, they're not unwrapped. I'll make my head big for a moment. Hang on just a sec. Been using these. This is a pack of 5 of them. They're a little tiny. If cats were any use at all, the cat would do the unwrapping of this for me, but the cats are not of any use. Cat is interested in grooming itself right now. These little squeegees I get from the Beast, aka Amazon. And they are included in my mark making kit. They are you can see, they're a small, about credit card size, flexible rubber, sharp edged. Yeah, squeegee. So probably the vertical of the building against the harsh water and the sky. So the vertical on the left-hand side, the big contrasty vertical of the building, that was probably done with this squeegee. Lynn Banks says water and oil don't like each other. Well, water and oil are emulsified in Cobra water mixable oils. And water and oil play together beautifully that way. Another question. David asks, are you still using an H pencil? Yes, I'm using a 3H pencil. I'm bumping the contrast slightly on these photographs of the drawings, just so they show up. They show up just fine as a human being looking at them. But when you photograph them and don't bump the contrast any, they sort of disappear in photographs. JB Townsend says, if I recall correctly, Bay of Fundy is the most dramatic tide in the world. Yeah, it has one of the most. It's like 20 feet each tidal shift. When I was a kid, I thought that meant that like all of a sudden it drained, but it doesn't. It's just a big change. I mean, it's not like you watch all of a sudden in 2 minutes it goes from high tide to low tide. I don't know why I thought that. That's quite a stupid child, I think. Um, and here's another sketch. I'm going to make my head go away entirely now for a moment. Reality. This little street. I loved how the houses were tucked down into the landscape, but I did not love how high the far horizon line was. So in my drawing, I cheated. Very seldom do I cheat like that, but we're just experimenting here. I cheated. I dropped the horizon way down. I was kind of going for an Edward Hopper sort of. It felt very Hoppery to me. It felt very kind of Hopper's Cape Cod paintings. That sketch, and then I did a small 9x12 of the sketch, and then I wasn't very impressed with that. And so I did some experimental coloration on the sky. So that little painting on the far right is the same as the larger painting at the bottom. It's just an iteration further over there on the bottom. All right, let's see. David says, just picked up a 6x12-inch painting of mine of an underpass. Enjoying living with it. Well, that's good. That's good. May it continue to bring joy. And you got it from Will Basic, I see. That's great. Will Basic is my gallery in Northampton, Mass. And he's a great guy, and it's a beautiful gallery. All right. Another. See, I'm really paying attention to how these roads curve up. They go up, and how do you convey that feeling in the sketches and the paintings? Just loved the prow of this house, and in the sketch, I love the cracks in the roadway and stuff. It just the small scale, the intimate scale of the landscape in Eastport, and the fact that it's not touristy. It just feels it felt like going back into childhood almost. I could picture riding my bike, up the hill with difficulty and then down the hill and injuring myself horribly at the bottom. But again, see how I simplify and change some elements of especially the foliage elements in these paintings between reality. They're in there to a greater degree in the sketch because my sketches are trying to depict reality. And then the paintings are interpretations of the sketch. So to me, that stage of doing the sketch is terribly, terribly helpful. Do I repeat? A very good question. Amanda asked, do I repeat the sketch on the Centurion linen before I paint? No, I paint directly on the linen. I don't want it feels to me if I paint on top of a sketch, I sort of am filling in the blanks. It's like a coloring book, and I don't want to do that. It does mean that I have to be good enough at drawing to be able to draw with the paint. And that is what doing the sketches gives me. Doing the exercise of doing the sketch is exactly the same as a musician playing the scales so that they can then play a concerto, Now, let's see, David asks, very interesting to leave out the triangular tree over the road. Why that choice? I wanted it to be more open. I want more vastness in this scene than the tree really closes the scene in, really makes it intimate, and it is such a dominant kind of blob, I didn't like it much. By trimming it way back, it got the big, it emphasized the building much more. And that to me was much more what I wanted to be talking about as opposed to the tree. As Richard Schmid used to say, we are the gods of our own paintings. This scene, for some reason, I forgot to take a photograph of it. So I just did this sketch and then in the studio did this 9x12. This was actually on a Blick linen panel as opposed to the Centurion. Similar, very, very similar texture, just a little bit different. Again, I was pretty happy with this because it catches that afternoon light quite well, I think, where there's, you know, the buildings are reduced to these almost elemental shapes. And this isn't, you can't say that this is a portrait of those buildings. To me, it is a full scene. The whole, it is a landscape. It's a small town urban landscape. I was pretty happy with that one too. This was one of the last days I was there. Have not done a painting from this. I just was, I show this just because by the end of a 2-week residency, it says here, I usually write the amount of time that a sketch takes. So it says 11:30 to 12:20 on August 28th. And I was drawing well by that time. I'm really happy with the van. I'm really happy with the building. I'm happy with the composition. I'm just pretty happy with this sketch. As I say, I've not tried to do a painting from it. But by the end of that residency, I was drawing well and I was making a lot of paintings. These are some more paintings that I did there and then immediately after. Couple of the inset one, the one that is more black and white, was done from a sketch and photograph and then just imagination. But that was done at home during October, but very much using my time in Eastport as the genesis, as are these other almost entirely abstracted landscapes, the other 3 paintings. Ted asks, what draws me to a particular view? And I must say, I do like Ted's avatar there. Good job, Ted. That's an excellent question. Excellent question. What draws one to a particular scene? Let's go back a little to that. Okay. Again, there is the streetscape. So by this point in the residency, I am very aware of small town streetscape. I am very aware of this beautiful early 20th century architect. Well, these buildings are probably 1870 or so, but second half of 19th century into 20th century small town architecture. Compositionally, I liked how the building gets obscured by the foliage on the extreme left. I like how the vertical of the utility pole cuts through the building and stitches the foliage to the foreground. I like how the shadow goes across the street. If that shadow wasn't there, I think it would be a weaker composition. I like how the shadow of the foundation. There may be a little bit of war that is about to happen here. Charbonneau is coming in to see if there are any snacks. An annoying little brother wants to go play with Charbonneau, and Charbonneau just will not want that. So I have annoying little brother here. Oh, it's drama here in Bellows Falls, ladies and gentlemen. It's drama here. There's going to be some yelling, I think, in a minute. Anyway, if I let go of him, there is going to be great unhappiness. Let's see. I'm going to make my head big so you can all see what may be going down. Anyway, does that help explain why I choose a particular scene? It's generally something compositionally interesting to me, and then the subject matter evokes something in me, so I feel I have something to say about it. Yes, I agree, Ted. That larger shadow did close it down too much. I think I should probably end this because I need to deal with the internecine warfare that might erupt at any moment. Anyone have any further questions? It's wonderful having a new cat. You just want the old cat to like the new cat, and the old cat does not like the new cat. Those are good cats. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the Reasonably Fine Art Talk. We'll have another one soon. I think I'm doing one with Mark Anderson next week, but you'll hear about it here first. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.